working the 2024. No, that's extremely small. This is the 2024 paper 1 for May June Social Studies. I did this paper before, so it will be faster than the 2025 papers that I have done. It will be relatively faster than those. So let's start off. Let me just wait for the chat to catch itself. Let me see if everyone is okay. If anyone is willing to join. I think majority of the audience is supposed to be able to join right now. So as I said before, we'll work in the 2025. Let me just wait. Just wait for you guys for a couple minutes. Anyways, we're starting now. We're starting now. Get more time off from work than their wives. Prefer to remain at home and assist their wives. That is out of the way. So the reason why they are more farming household chores because of change in gender roles, of modern incentives. We have women movements, and women movements, while they are comparatively advantageous. Anyways, guys, so marginalization, let me just put that on the screen so you guys could see there. And don't forget to subscribe to the Search Web Guys channel. I have heard a lot of comments that relates to I have not been fact checking myself. In the recent 2025 January paper 1 for POB, I totally did that question anonymously, and no results were released for it. So I could have not fact checked myself and just said this was right or this was not right. It was totally anonymous. I never looked at the document before. And if you look at the time frame that I was actually working that paper, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. And that is relatively late. So you can't expect someone to think 100% strategically at that all. And I don't believe I even, and someone overstated, said that I got a lot wrong, and I really disagree with that. I don't believe that is true. I don't believe that is true. I look back at the document, I look back at the answers, I did fact check myself, and it's only like 2 to 3 questions that I could see that I did not 100% understand. It was the 2025 POB. But anyways, let's move on to question 2. But guys, I will fact check myself while I'm doing this paper. I am fact checking myself. So the answers that are in this document will definitely not be incorrect. Even if one of them, no one is perfect, guys. I am not perfect. I do make mistakes a couple of times. Everyone make mistakes a couple of times. But once the correctness of it outweighs the wrongness of it, I believe you are okay. But for that commenter, I don't know. I think it's an examiner. I don't know exactly. Someone, I can't remember that name exactly. But I just like to say formally that I never worked the paper, and honestly, it was very late. It was very, very late. It was 4 o'clock going on to morning, and I had been live streaming that whole day. So if you guys have any consecutive complaints as relates back to that document, I just like to say that sorry, I was working that document very late, so I couldn't think strategically. Anyways, it says Maxine Lewis lives with her unmarried mother and father, seen is best described as that is common law. They are living, we call that living in home in the Caribbean. And common law is sometimes disdained in the in this Caribbean economies. No one likes persons that are living home in the Caribbean, especially in the Caribbean. Now let's move on to questions or item 3 to 4. They gave us a passage right here. Let's read that. Item 3 and 4 refer to the following scenario. Susan is 26 years old. She's married has two children, a well-paid job. Her husband died in a motor vehicle accident soon after his death. Susan and her children want to live with her parents, her brother, and his family. The situation has changed Sion's family structure from that would be a nuclear text. So that really changed her family dynamics from that to what we consider being extended because she now has to live with her parents and her brother and probably other family related incentives too. And she's now a single mother living with her parents to say. So that would literally change the whole dynamics. I don't think I need to do more elaborations on that. Move on to question 4. Which of the following factors would likely have had the least influence on Susan's decision to live with her relatives? Inefficient income to provide for. Likely influence her decision would be insufficient income to provide for her children. Right? So, yes, that's it for 4. Move on to 5. I did discuss this one in the study prep guy react. Let me just put the thing up here. But for this one, I did have a commenter saying that it's cousin. I checked back myself, and the answer for this one is cousin. Let me just put that right on top there. You could check out this video on the study prep guys. I did do a little bit more elaborations on that channel, the study prep guy react. On YouTube. You could check it out for more elaborations on this particular question. But I'm just going through the document now. I did it before, so I'm just going through it again. What relation is Trevor Green to Peter Brung? So Peter Brung, he is the, let's see, where's Peter Brung? Where's Peter Brung? Look back the question. Trevor Green. Where's Trevor? Where's Trevor? Trevor. Peter Brung, he is like the yes. We're going slow. I don't want to push or rush anything. We have at least usually the time allocation for paper 1 is 1 hour and 30 minutes. Which of the following are agents of socialization? Process, peer groups. Yes, peer groups. Situation is brought by, what do you guys think? That is generational conflict. Or generational gap. Call that the generational conflict or the generational gap. Because the ideas of the previous generations might come in conflict with the current generation. The current generation, like Gen Z, mostly grew up in social media, and the previous generation they didn't grow up with social media, so they may have they may not understand the current generation a lot because they might just say you're on your phone all the time and stuff like that. But that's how the current generation is growing right now. Social media. Social media is very prevalent. Alright, that is for 8. Let's move on to 9. So it says here, research suggests that young people are influenced to use illegal drugs mainly because of, and that for that would be B, peer pressure. Can it be frustration, the generational gap that's totally dropping out of school? Even though these can be reasons, it's not solid enough. Peer pressure is the main contributor to illegal usage of drugs in the Caribbean. Peer pressure. Your friends come to you and say, why you should try this, or you should check this out, this is nice, it will ease all your frustrations. Let's move on to question 10 now. Which of the following are items of expenditure for the government? The pensions, because government is actually expending their incentives or their financial liabilities to provide pensions for people between ages of I think it's 65 to above, 65 and above. Did you say 65 and above? Lisa, what year pensions is be like 65? 65 and above. Let's move on to 11. Items 11 refers to the following scenario. The citizens of Gordon Village are not satisfied with their plans to locate a cemetery on land adjacent to the main river in their community. They formed a group to make representation of the Parish council. The group of students may be best described as, what you guys thinking? That's an interest group, right? That's an interest group. Let's move on to 12. Which of the following is most likely to undermine the authority of parents in the home? Inconsistency, have an inconsistency, or you're not, there's no system of reward and punishments. Children will likely not take your words seriously, which will lead them to eventually becoming delinquents. And delinquency is not a positive thing. Delinquency is a very much prevalent issue in the Caribbean. Not in we like for example, I don't know if you noticed, but parents in this, in at least Gen Z parents, are not as strict as probably Gen X parents or the fifth or fourth generations. The Thor generation, that's in the 1900s. They were some real parents. They were some radical parents. If you did something wrong, you would be totally obliterated. If you look at parents now, they won't. They're not really that. They're not really that consistent with beating children and disciplining them as before. I believe it's because of the influence of the West, because of westward influence in terms of the American influence in the Caribbean. We don't really beat or we don't really punish our children like before. Back probably in the 1900s, children used to be punished a lot. Move on to question 13. How long we've been going this stream? Supposed to be going on until 50. Make decisions. Always keep a serious face. Tends to be lenient. Allow them to make their own decision. Willingness to make decisions. For 13, that would be A right out the bat. The type of care associated with elderly is described as. What are you guys thinking? That is geriatric. When we associate care with elderly, that's the term used for that is geriatric. Senescent just refers to old people. The term senescent just refers to old people. Um, I never see this term. I never see this term. Pediatric. Let me just look at this. I'll put this. You could see it on the screen here, so you guys could see. So we spell it pediatric. That's a totally different term. So that term deals with medical incentives. Let's move on to 15. Which of the following characteristics must a group possess for it to be considered a formal group? Code of conduct, special objectives, membership requirements. I believe this answer would most likely fall into D. All of these are required to form a formal group. Samuel broke one of the school's rule and teacher gave him 250 lines to write. The action of the teacher is an example of sanctions. In most formal groups, there's a system of sanctions and rewards. We're at question 17. Wait. Which of the following best characterizes a primary group? Face-to-face interaction. Wait, chat. You tell me it get me time. That's ridiculous. But just anyways. Which of the following are not included in the written constitution of a country? Methods of taxation. No, this is me 100. Adolescents are most likely to influence each other in a positive way when they become involved in guidance and counseling activities. Real life, IRL. Which of the following would not usually be associated with educative institutions? For 20, that would be suppression of freedom. Education institutions usually have rules, regulation, concept. They usually maintain customs and traditions and transmission of culture are all of their functionalities. Suppression of freedom is not one of their responsibilities. Definitely not one. Anyways, guys, I would have to close off this video. I have to